and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, God, liberty, and justice. Thank you. I'd like to thank the Acadiana High School JROTC for a presentation of the colors. This is probably one of the few times that they won't wear forest green. I'd like to call on the superintendent, Dr. Aguillard, opening comments.
Thank you, Mr. Angel. Congratulations to Principal Julia Williams and her Northside High staff. They applied and will receive a Louisiana Department of Education School Improvement Grant valued at $500,000. The money will be used to improve the academic level of Northside students. Although the amount is less than we requested, it will afford Northside the opportunity to become, a model professional learning community school with a contractual support from Solution Tree. Teachers will continue to learn how to identify essential grade level standards using research-based strategies while closing the achievement gap. Pending final adjustments, Northside High may pursue hiring a family community liaison. This was a competitive grant with several schools writing to secure funds. Many thanks to Latika McGee, our Federal Programs Director, for assisting with the grant writing endeavor. This Friday, October 14th, Lafayette Parish High School counselors and ULL will host an annual Lafayette Parish College and Career Day for all participating seniors and juniors in the student ballroom at the University of Lafayette from 8:30 a.m. until 1 p.m. Representatives from universities, vocational and technical schools, the military, community colleges, junior colleges, business training, and apprenticeship programs, as well as local and state financial aid personnel will be present. Thank you to the Special Student Services coordinators Pauline Duplantis and Tanya Hebert, and Lafayette Online Academy counselor Hannah Daigle for organizing this event. Congratulations to LPSS and Austin Elementary Teacher of the Year, Carly Roselle. She was selected as Lafayette Parish's 2016 Saints Chevron Teacher of the Week and will be recognized at the November 27th Saints home game versus the Los Angeles Rams. She will receive 2 tickets to the game and will be recognized on the Saints website and at halftime of the football game. Thank you to the New Orleans Saints Director of Community Affairs, Alicia Broussard Sheridan, for providing this recognition. Board members, this Saturday, October 15th, Gear Up will host their first Saturday University for students at the Vermilion Center from 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. Activities are related to aerospace, biomedical, and civil engineering with an emphasis on rocket trajectory, optics and lasers, and road construction. For more information, students at Gear Up schools need to ask their guidance counselor. And thanks to Gear Up, gaining early awareness and readiness for undergraduate programs, approximately 30 teachers will benefit from T3 Boost, Teachers Teaching with Texas Instruments. This is a continuation of last year's Gear Up grant for 7th and 8th grade students to use over $100,000 worth of TI Inspire calculators, probes, and the Navigator for classroom instruction. 9th grade teachers in math and science will be afforded professional development using the technology on October 21 and 22. Board members, you are invited to take part in the annual Schools of Choice recruitment event called Fall Frenzy. Fall Frenzy will take place on Saturday, November 5th from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. at the Cajun Dome Convention Center. This event is free and open to the public. The Schools of Choice program consists of over 6,000 students from grades pre-K through 12, including high school academies, 5 middle school academies, and 5 elementary school programs. Each program or academy is themed through the career learning pathway. Pathways include arts, business law, and advanced studies, health and biomedical, STEM, JROTC, and world language immersion. At the Fall Frenzy, teachers and students from all of the academies and programs will be available to answer questions and assist parents. Application dates for entry into the lottery begin on November 5, 2016 at 10 a.m. and run through January 31, 2017. Applications must be completed online at www.lafayettechoice.com. Just a reminder to parents and students that the nomination for the 19th Annual LEF Teacher Awards is open until October 31st. Nominations can be made online at leffoundation.org or with a paper version obtained from the school. Finalists will be recognized in January of 2017. The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation has announced the recipient of its 2016-17 Community Partnership Grants. The grants were distributed October 10th at a ceremony at the George and Joyce Wine Jazz and Career Heritage Center. Congratulations to Acadian Middle School, as they are the recipients of a $3,000 grant for an enrichment and after-school program. One of the components of the grant is to have an artist perform various instruments one-on-one with students and to purchase instruments and sheet music. A second component of the grant is to purchase African American history books for enrichment, reading, and discussions. And finally, this is a reminder that the first 9 weeks ends on Tuesday, October 18th. There will be no school for students on Friday, October 21 for a district in-service day. On Tuesday, October 25, report cards will be available at Parent-Teacher Conference Day at each school from 11 a.m. until 7 p.m. This is the day that students are not in attendance. I am encouraging parents to please attend the conference day and discuss with your child's teacher their academic progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Aguillard. And speaking of Forest Green, we have recognition of a young lady, Raven Guidry, and with that I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Latchley.
Thank you, Mr. President. And what I'll quickly do is yield the floor, if I could, to Acadiana High Principal, Mr. David Lejeune.
Mr. Angel and Dr. Aguillard and Mr. Latchley, thank y'all for having us tonight. Gives me pleasure to introduce a remarkable young lady. Come on up, Raven. I'll let y'all see Raven as she comes up. Raven is part of our wrestling team at Acadiana High School, and she has just, in the last couple of weeks, signed a wrestling scholarship. If you see her shirt, she's going to Oklahoma City University. She's going to become the first girl wrestler from Lafayette Parish to sign a wrestling scholarship, and only the third girl in the state of Louisiana to receive a wrestling scholarship. Last year, I'm sorry, go ahead. And I'll let her tell you a little bit more about her accomplishments. But in high school wrestling, and she'll talk a little bit about nationals and stuff, she doesn't have the pleasure of wrestling other girls. She wrestles strictly boys during the state part of wrestling. And last year, she won 15 matches and lost 13 matches, but she was out half the year with a shoulder injury. She is, and people think I'm crazy when I say this, but she is one of the toughest kids on our campus by far. You know, most boys can't go through what she goes through on a daily basis. So with no further ado, I'll let Raven come on up. Congratulations, Raven.
Thank you. Good afternoon, superintendent and board members. It's a pleasure to be here. So I've been wrestling since freshman year. I'm a senior at Acadiana. My name is Raven Guidry. I got into wrestling because my family's like big into like UFC and all of that, and I was just like, it's something different. I played softball, didn't really work for me, So I decided, let me just go into wrestling. It's something new. The boys didn't want me there. Coaches didn't want me there. Everyone would try to make me quit. I was like, I'm not quitting. There's no point in quitting. I don't give up. So I stuck it out throughout all conditioning. I made it to senior year, and the guys, when I would wrestle them at tournaments, would be like, oh, it's a girl, we're not gonna have to worry about that. And then they would wrestle me and be like, oh, yep, okay, next time we really have to step up our game. It's just an honor to be able to actually wrestle at Acadiana High. It took a lot for like everyone to actually accept me as a wrestler. I compete on national levels, and I placed 7th at a really, really big national tournament, which I All-American'd at, which is a really good accomplishment. I wrestled girls, of course. In college, I'll be wrestling females, and it's a different style of wrestling. I would not have gotten this opportunity if the principals and coaches at Acadiana wouldn't have let a girl wrestler on an all-guy team. I'm a big student athlete, though. I put my grades before wrestling. I'll do whatever it takes. I've maintained a 4.0 throughout high school, and I don't plan on changing that throughout. And I plan to graduate on stage with Beta and just keep my grades up as much as I can. I'm taking AP Calculus, which is kicking my butt, but I'm going to get it. Thank you.
And she did mention when she signed, she had a little speech also when she signed, that one of her goals is to, and if you've watched the Summer Olympics this past year, they have wrestling now for girls in the Summer Olympics, and that's one of her goals, is to wrestle in the Olympics. So in 4 or 5 years, y'all watch her in the Olympics, so she'll be representing Acadiana High. Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Congratulations, Raven, and as always, once a Ram, always a Ram.
I kind of figured that was coming, Mr. Latchley. All right, moving along, next on our agenda is recognition of Ernest Gallette Elementary School for being named one of America's healthiest schools. Dr. Aguillard, Ms. Samick.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Ariane Bryant. She is a Healthy Schools Program Manager from New Orleans, and she'll conduct a presentation.
Thank you for this opportunity. Good evening. My name is Ariane Bryan, and I stand before you today on behalf of the Alliance for Healthier Generations Healthy Schools Program to recognize Ernest Gallette Elementary as the 2016 Bronze National Healthy Schools Program Award winner. Ernest Gallette has made a significant impact in ensuring the health of tomorrow's generation. Last month in Washington, D.C., the Alliance for Healthier Generation recognized 328 schools nationwide who have worked to transform their school communities into more healthful places to work, learn, and play. Ernest Gallette Elementary was one of 5 Louisiana schools recognized and the only South Louisiana school to receive the National Healthy Schools Program Award 2016. As one of the nation's leading childhood obesity prevention organizations, the Alliance for a Healthier Generation, founded by the American Heart Association and the Clinton Foundation, works with schools, companies, community organizations, healthcare professionals, and families to transform the systems and conditions that lead to healthier children. Today, about 1 out of 3 children and adolescents in the United States is either overweight or obese, putting them at risk for serious health concerns. The goal of the Alliance for a Healthier Generation is to reduce the prevalence of childhood obesity and to empower kids nationwide to make healthful lifestyle choices. The Alliance's Healthy Schools program helps to create and sustain healthy school environments where students, especially those in greatest need, can learn more and flourish. The Healthy Schools program works with over 31,000 schools to increase quality physical education, physical activity, healthy eating, reaching more than 19 million students and counting. In Louisiana, more than 500 schools serving 286,000 students have joined the Healthy Schools program. This year, led by Principal Shagwa and HSP champion and PE coach Deborah Thrower, Ernest Gallette had raised the bar for student health by implementing policies and practices that promote a more healthful school environment. Schools that win the National Healthy Schools Program Award meet or exceed best practices in the areas of nutrition, physical education, physical activity, and are in full compliance with the state and national guidelines for school wellness policy implementation. For the Healthy Schools program to be effective, 2 critical factors must be in place: administrative support and engaged champions. Principal Shagwai is fully committed to student health. She has been a model administrator, and her campus is healthier as a result of her leadership. Thank you for making health a priority. Where will we be without Coach Deborah? Coach Deborah's determination. She works tirelessly for the students and has become one of the Healthy Schools program's best advocates. Coach Deborah, we thank you for your passion, long hours, and your commitment. In addition to the Healthy Schools Program Award, through Alliance Reciprocity, Ernest Gillette will also receive the 2016 Let's Move Active Schools Award as well. Let's Move Active Schools is the PAP component of the Healthy Schools Program, and First Lady Michelle Obama's National Childhood Obesity Initiative. Congratulations. I want to leave you with 2 quotes from our leaders. We applaud the achievements of our 2016 honorees and hope that schools across the country follow their example, said Dr. Howell Welsher, CEO, Alliance for a Healthier Generation. These schools demonstrate a commitment to the health of their students, which is particularly important because research shows students' health has an impact on their academic and lifelong success. Second, former President Bill Clinton, co-founder of the Alliance for a Healthier Generation, states, "The urgency to reverse childhood obesity for millions of children and teens drives us to seek innovative solutions. The Alliance's Healthy Schools program shows that school-based initiatives work and that every school can find ways to create healthier environments for students and staff." I would now like to present Coach Deborah with the official Alliance for a Healthier Generation. This is their bronze certificate. In addition to, Healthy Schools Program. The Alliance for a Healthier Generation, founded by the American Heart Association and the Clinton Foundation, is proud to recognize Ernest Gillette Elementary School for creating healthy school environments. This is their 2016 award. They also have received 2 signed letters, 2 official proclamations, one from our CEO of the Alliance for a Healthier Generation and a signed letter from our co-founder, President Bill Clinton. Ernest Gillette also received 2 awesome banners, one from LMAS and the Healthy Schools Program. I encourage you to stop by this school. They are waving it proudly, and this is from the Alliance for a Healthier Generation. Thank you, Coach Deborah.
I'd like to add a little bit to that. I know that I'm up here receiving this award, but if I didn't have an amazing school staff that coordinated and did many things to make our school the wonderful, healthy place it is, we wouldn't have gotten this award. And in addition, lots of schools in this parish are already doing these very healthy things at their school. And we're going to work on getting them recognized as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Shagwar, would you also come up, please?
Next on our agenda is item 2.3, Thibodeau STEM Tiny House Hostel Project.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Is that you again?
No, sir. I'm gonna cut her off. Yes, sir, Mr. Angel. At this time, I'd like Mr. Debataz, principal of Thibodeau STEM, and his cadre of future engineers to the microphone.
First, I want to thank Mr. Angel, Dr. Aguillard, members of the board, and guests. I'd like to thank you guys for allowing us to come and share another one of these wonderful ideas that our teachers and students have come up with. Our project this year is actually a 2-year project, and it's to solve some of Lafayette's problems with housing. And one thing in becoming a STEM accredited school is to solve real-world problems within your community. So I have 3 teacher leaders that are going to introduce the students and introduce our tiny house project. That would be Miss Nicolette Dargent, Miss Justine Prudhomme, and Miss Dawn Edlin.
Hello everyone, I'm Nicolette Dargent. I'm the engineering coach at David Thibodeau STEM Academy. And today with me I have Mr. Logan Guillory, who is a junior at David Thibodeau in our engineering academy. We also have Mr. Austin Hall, who is also a junior in our engineering academy. And we have senior Mr. Paul Pryor, who is also on one of our project leaders.
Good evening, I'm Justine Prudhomme, and I teach middle school science for STEM. And who I have with me this evening are my middle school scientists. I have Kennedy, Cadence, Isabel, Mary Lee, and Tristan with us today. I'm glad they can join us. Thank you.
And because our project is a whole school project, there is both a high school and a middle school component that Mr. Logan Guillory will start off for us.
Hello, my name is Logan Guillory, and I'm one of the project managers of the Tiny House Project. And here's our tiny house hostel project proposal. So what is a tiny house? A tiny house is a getaway that revitalizes the city's economy by introducing new businesses and bringing in new visitors. It reduces crime, eases traffic congestion, improves pedestrian safety, and creates a cultural shift from an individual community as a whole, kind of like Neighborhood Watch. It promotes healthy living, improves the environment, and enhances civic engagement. These factors are supported by UN Habitat's Global Urban Observatories unit. So our phases in high school that we as high schoolers will be going through in 2016, this year, we will be researching, designing, and promoting. So our students are researching, designing, and building a 2-foot by 4-foot model, and we need to establish mentors and sponsors for funding by hosting our Barnes & Noble Makers Fair November 5th and 6th. In 2017, we will document, so the students will compile 6th through 12th grade student designed concepts in a coffee table book format publication. In 2017 and 2018, we will build. So in this building stage, we're going to be anchored on the premise of simple, efficient, and effective. And after we finish building, we will share our project with the community. So we will tour the tiny house, throughout Lafayette by conducting do-it-yourself clinics at our public libraries. After that, high school students will present with educators at the National Science Teachers Association STEM National Conference in Atlanta, Georgia, March 15th through 18th in 2018. After we get back from the NSTA conference, we will determine the viability of hostel or raffle. So we will determine if it is still viable for someone to live in the house, and alternatively, we will reduce, reuse, and recycle by dismantling and donating the materials to Habitat for Humanity.
In 2016, we have already completed the first phase of the tiny house operation. We have created our 36 square inch models that reflect the tiny house life. This will show you what it is going to look like and how we are going to build this. In 2017, we will develop a coffee table book that showcases all of the student design concepts. In 2017 and 2018, we will build a tiny house. We
participate based on safety and considering material selection for the true size tiny house, 100 to 150 square feet.
We will present the model at the National Science Teacher Association in Atlanta, Georgia, March 15th through 18th of 2018. We will also tour the tiny house throughout Lafayette Parish by giving a do-it-yourself workshop at our public libraries.
In 2018, we will raffle the tiny house or reduce, reuse, and recycle it. We will determine the viability of hostel for the raffle. Our alternative plan is to reduce, reuse, and recycle by dismantling and donating materials to the Habitat for Humanity.
We will be researching structural ideas and various concepts that we can incorporate in the house. We will also be prototyping and designing various innovations that we can incorporate in the house in order to get our STEM accreditation. We will be producing a coffee table book which will showcase all of the students' designs and a brief description of each. We will be building the house in 2017 and 2018.
Everyone in the community is welcome to come and check out our DIY clinics on Saturdays at every public library in Lafayette. This is going to be done sometime in 2017 and 2018. We are also going to be heading off to the NSTA Teachers Conference in Atlanta, Georgia on March 15th. There we will be showing how teachers from all over can incorporate STEM into their curriculums. But now. Oh. Sorry about that. So if we decide not to keep if the tiny house is not viable to keep and live in, we're going to initiate our 3R protocol, which is just reduce, reuse, and recycle. All materials would be donated and going to Habitat for Humanity or some other people who can use it. Now,
there's just one last thing I'd like to say. Last year, our students came to me with a project, a space project, if you recall, and we were one of 14 schools in the world selected to put a science experiment on the International Space Station, with the nanocube being designed by the engineers. This year, I told these guys, let's stay a little more grounded, so they did. Guys, I'm very, very proud of them, and I thank you for your attention, and watch us grow. See us at Fall Fest, at Barnes & Nobles, and at your public libraries. Thank you.
While they're leaving, oh yeah. I'd like to just say how much I enjoyed the music that was held before the program. I apologize for not mentioning it earlier, but when I first heard the music, I thought they were playing a song that I dearly love. It's called Malagueña, but it wasn't Malagueña, but it was similar to Malagueña. And those guitars really were really good. And I want them to know that I really appreciated the music. Mr. Craig?
Thank you, Mr. Angel. The Louisiana Principal Fellowship, established by the State Department of Education, has developed a year-long, rigorous, and collaborative professional development program that brings together current and aspiring school leaders from across the state. This training program is delivered by the National Institute for School Leadership, also known as NISL. 8 of our district's administrators have earned certificates of achievement through this program over the past year. I'd like to congratulate them, recognize them for their hard work, and additionally the skills that they're going to bring back to our district in terms of effective school leadership and instruction will be valued. When I call your name, if you would come up, I'll ask Mr. Angel and the superintendent if we take a group picture. Without further ado, Kathy Aloisio, Director of Elementary Schools, Casey Brewer, Principal of Prairie, Monique Shagwa, Ernest Gallette, Brian Hebert, Director of Middle and Secondary Schools, Candy Kelly, Scott Middle, Dr. Mark Rabelais, Ridge Elementary, Tia Trahan, Thibodeau STEM, and Kay Victorian, Library Media Specialist. Congratulations for your hard work. Good job, school administrators. And a quick note while they're getting settled down, for the upcoming school year 16-17, we have 6 more candidates going into the next cohort, and that would be Jennifer Gardner from Alamon, Janine LaFleur from Montgomery, Felice Williams at Evangeline, Cindy Duyon at Broadmoor, and Monique Vitos at Woodvale. We look forward to seeing them in a year. Thank you.
Okay, the next item, Ms. Morris.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt in globo the items listed under Section 3 and Section 4 of the agenda, including the minutes, financial reports, and other reports.
We have a motion, second by Mr. Latchley, that we accepted, that we approve in global items 3.1, 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, and 4.4. Any questions or comments from members of the public? From members of the board? If not, Madam Secretary, we'll call for the vote. Okay, 5.1, Ms. Moore, we're going to scratch it for now. 5.1. Okay. Next on our information report items, the first one is dual language immersion. Ms. Samick or Dr. Aguillard.
Thank you. Good evening, President Angel and board members. On September 30th, I sent a document to you describing a dual language immersion program in Spanish as a future school of choice. On October 4th, at the executive meeting, we conducted a brief presentation and received support from the board members who are present to continue to pursue the idea. Tonight, we would like to present the information to the full board. The idea is to open dual language immersion in Spanish at Charles Burke Elementary School. So why Burke? Reasons include location, transportation, rezoning seat capacity, an existing ESL program where the primary first language is Spanish. We would start with 2 kindergarten classes and would add a grade level each year. The makeup of the classes for dual language immersion would be 50% Spanish speaking and 50% English speaking students. The primary teacher would be Spanish, and an ESL teacher would provide support services and English instruction. After speaking with the Charles Burke principal, Mrs. Loretta Duran Williams, who became an ESL certified administrator this past summer, she was excited to have it at her school. She sees it as an opportunity to provide strategies to address closing the achievement gap among the ELL students where Spanish is their first language and provide English learners to be dual language proficient. Ms. Williams could not be with us tonight, but she did ask me to share her endorsement. Mrs. Tia Lebrun, World Language Specialist, will begin with a PowerPoint discussing the differences among dual language immersion, one-way immersion that we have at Alice Boucher, and the federally mandated ESL services that are provided to qualified students. Then Mrs. Jane Ellison, ESL Administrator, will speak regarding the ESL population at Burke and why this would be a natural fit.
Bonsoir, Monsieur Angel.
Buenas tardes, señora.
Buenas tardes. And good evening, Dr. Aguillard, Ms. Samick, and all the members of the board. Tonight, I'll just be kind of explaining, like she said, the differences in what this program has to offer for our English language learners in the district. So, one-way language immersion, which is what we have at Alice Boucher with our wonderful teachers in the crowd. This ideally is an environment where all English native speakers are sitting in their classroom with their homeroom teachers who are Spanish native speakers or close to native proficiency. They learn all of their content areas in the Spanish language while developing literacy skills in both English and Spanish. In a dual language class, the instruction is not only supported by that teacher with the language skills, but also by half of the students enrolled in the class. So 50% of the students are Spanish speaking at home, and 50% would be English speaking at home. When they come together in this environment, they support each other's learning. So in the English language arts block that they have together, the English speakers are the strong students helping to coach their Spanish-speaking peers, and they are very successful feeling like they can be leaders. And then in the opposite time of the day, when they're with their Spanish-speaking teacher, those Spanish-speaking kids are the leaders and the strong ones who can coach their English-speaking peers in acquiring all of the content knowledge and language proficiency skills. So both groups really profit a lot from this relationship where they're coaching each other through this process, and they both exceed and excel where monolingual peers or monolingual programs may not show the same type of growth. So dual language versus ESL now, those are two different things too. In dual language, as I explained, they're learning mainly in Spanish all day. It's a 60-40 split for immersive environments. And in ESL, which is a mandated service that we provide to English language learners, these kids have, well, their parents have the right to opt in or opt out of services, but that's only for a smaller portion of the day that they get the support in English language acquisition. Combining these is very powerful for those students. You could have a push in or pull out. It really allows a lot more flexibility for the ESL teachers to best determine how to support the child's learning. Okay, so a bit from research. Thomas and Collier, Doctors Thomas and Collier, are renowned, do renowned studies on dual language immersion and all forms of ELL support. So they say dual language is the most effective way. All of their data show that this is the way to close that achievement gap with the quickest timeline and with fidelity. It does take up to 6 years for a person to acquire a language to near native proficiency. And my green box. They also benefit from the cultural mix in the room, because not all Spanish speakers are from Mexico. They come from all over the world. And Colombians and all of the South American countries, Nicaraguans, all come together and they share their culture with their peers. They share snacks that might be authentic. They learn from each other in more ways than just the language. Okay, here are examples of 3 different programs that Drs. Thomas and Collier studied and the results. And the yellow bars that are the highest are the two-way bilingual immersion, which is dual language. And on the side, in the darker box with the pyramid or the triangles, that shows the difference in salaries that those children can one day achieve as bilingual people. If you have an additional language, that usually means a whole lot more for your family and for your future. It enables you to study at universities abroad should you reach a certain proficiency level. And it gives them an opportunity that's global, not just in their own backyards. So our immediate benefits that we project for this school at Burke, we would see a little enrollment boost where parents have already been talking. Somehow it's already out there a little, and Ms. Ellison was sharing with us that some English-speaking parents are questioning already, how can I get my kid in there? I really want them to benefit from this. The heightened achievement levels. If you look at the stats from our Boucher kids, it's undeniable the difference that immersion can make in a child's achievement. And the increased student engagement. Their brains are working double time when they're learning in a language that isn't their own at home. It grows synapses, it develops their cognitive functioning, and increases their potential, but what I want to say is it increases their executive function ability a lot earlier in their life. Such things as time management and gauging a variety of solutions for one simple problem. So it increases all of those skills in these kids at an earlier age than if they don't participate. And the little action plan part, what we would have to do to prepare. And we've been discussing with the administrators who are very supportive at Burke. They're all on board to go and visit dual language immersion schools. And we found some in Beaumont that go all the way from elementary to middle to high. So it wouldn't be that far to go to observe what it's like in real life and how it works day to day. And we did look at where our kids are coming from for Boucher one-way immersion, just to make sure we wouldn't be taking away from what they have. Their program is so strong now, and it's growing, and we would not want to take away from that in any way, because this will be a different type of immersion. So we have the breakdown, and most of those kids that are out of zone for Boucher don't reside in that zone that would be for Burke. And I'll let you have Miss Ellison now.
I am Janie Ellison, and I am the program administrator for the ESL program in Lafayette Parish. Ms. Samick asked if I would pull a little data together for you on our ESL program at Burke Elementary. This is our second year of having all grades K to 5 at a regular school with a sheltered ESL program. Here is, as of today, Burke's total enrollment of 720 children. The green are white children, and this is straight from JPAMS. We took it from JPAMS this morning. The green bar is are white children, black children red, Hispanic is blue, Asian yellow, Native American or Alaskan black, and we didn't have really any of the other category. So this is our enrollment as of today at Burke. Here is our ESL enrollment as of today at Burke. We have 53 students. Kinder, you can see our kinder, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. Blue, Hispanic, the bar in the total enrollment, ESL enrollment, Hispanic, and 2 Asian. So you can see how we began to look towards Burke for a Spanish immersion program. And this is a neat graph because this shows our growth of ESL students. The yellow towers show a sheltered classroom. The purple are mainstream or regular ed classrooms. So as you can see in kindergarten, we have 2 ESL classrooms. Traditionally, we are always heavy on the kindergarten end as they enter school. And this graph shows exactly what we want to happen. You can see the yellow bar or tower decreasing, and the purple is increasing. So the children in sheltered ESL programs that are smaller numbers, all the way to 5th grade. And when they leave the sheltered program, they go into a regular ed program. So it gives you an idea of, and we have 88 children in the mainstream and 65 in sheltered program as of today. Ms. Hammett?
Thank you. So I don't know if you have any questions for the 2 presenters. Again, the question comes up is, why Burke? Well, I'm hoping that the presentation basically addresses the fact that, 1, we currently have a significant population of Spanish-speaking children that are at Burke that are currently in ESL. There's a very small population for students that leave Burke to travel on a bus to go to Alice Boucher. So if those students decided to continue to travel, we would encourage those 4 to actually enter into the dual immersion program. But we can't do it right away because those 4 students, I would imagine, are not going to be eligible because we're going to start at the kindergarten level. So again, as we grow the program there, we'll have more students who will be eligible to attend. And the last part, of course, is that all the evidence that we've been researching and the comments have been made is that ESL is wonderful. We have found that many of the Spanish-speaking students do not have the reading and writing skills in Spanish from their household. So we would like to make sure that the Spanish students are actually dual language when they graduate or when they leave elementary. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Dr. Chasson, you have a question?
So the dual language classes will be comprised of half English speaking kindergartners, half Spanish speaking kindergartners, and will you have to be zoned for Burke to attend since it doesn't fall under a school of choice?
Currently that is correct, and you are correct. It would be 50% of the Spanish speaking, 50% English speaking. And because it is not schools of choice, we would pilot the program with just the regular enrollment.
Okay.
Any other questions, Mr. Latchley?
The comment I'd kind of like to make, being the board member that represents Burke, and some of the questions the parents had as for, you know, a timeline for this and when you want to come to Burke with this, is I'd appreciate it if the district would put on a presentation at the school and have the parents and children that are there to better educate them on what this can do for the school and for the students. With the rezoning that was coming and some people being zoned out of Burke and some being brought in and trying to bring an academy in kind of quickly, there were a lot of questions I couldn't answer. And I think if the district could do that and get the proper information to the people, I think they might be receptive to it.
Thank you. And that was part of our reason for, 1, not pursuing the schools of choice so quickly for next year, and 2, for doing the presentation tonight. Thank you.
And I appreciate it. I know my constituents appreciate it also.
Thank you.
Mr. Broussard?
Some of the questions that was asked of me the other night when you made your presentation, you mentioned a goal, and I can't remember quite what that goal was. That goal was to make Burke total bilingual education in years to come. Because that was one of the questions that was asked to me. Or will that kindergarten class with 50-50, whatever amount of students, move up to first grade and second and third, fourth, and fifth, making the school exclusively bilingual program? Is that the goal?
Mr. Broussard, I'll address that. Actually, in the executive committee, it was mentioned by a board member to what's the possibility of making it a school-wide dual language immersed program. At this time for next year, we would like to try at least 2 kindergarten classes, see the interest, and begin developing a program. I do not have the intent at this time to make it a full school immersed program. That would be the wishes of the board.
Dr. Chasson?
So the two kindergarten classes move up. They'll stay in the same I guess language makeup. So the following year, when that class is first grade, the next class will be the same kindergarten as well.
That's correct. We'll continue to grow the program if the pilot goes well and it's supported.
Goes well. So if anybody then is zoned for Burke, what happens with those kids? I'm just curious. If you don't want to enter the dual language program, so those zoned kids would then go where?
We're not moving anyone. This would be basically a school within a school.
Oh no, I know, but let's say you don't want your kid in the dual language kindergarten classes. Are there other kindergarten classes that will be there as well? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're just going to do 2 and then 2.
Correct.
Okay.
We currently, Miss Ellison, we currently have 2 ESL kindergartens. So we would take
For regular
and 2 ESLs. So basically, we're kind of like doing away with an ESL kindergarten class.
Gotcha.
And if the parents with ESL do not want their child in the dual language immersion program, we'll still have an ESL kindergarten class for the other children.
Okay.
No one's going to be forced to go into it.
Oh no, I'm not fighting it. I know it'll work. I'm just trying to get the logistics of it.
Mr. Broussard?
I think Mr. Chasson is not fighting it either, but just for a clarification that not to make it a school of choice, but are we further down the line, will we put a cap on the number of students that we can go from kindergarten to first grade to fifth grade or something like that, to assure the students or the parents in that area that they would have other options other than the dual language program?
Absolutely. And Mr. Broussard, if it's the wishes of the board in the near future to make it a school of choice, we can do that for the following year. And just like many of our school of choice programs, we do put a restriction or a limit on the number of seats available for a school of choice program.
Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies. Next on our agenda is an update on Southside High School. Is that you again, Ms. Samick?
Yes, sir. Actually, I'm going to introduce Principal Catherine Cassidy, and she'll just give you an update about the progress of Southside High.
Okay, I just kind of wanted to pull up, because one of the first items that I wanted to notify you about with Southside Progress is our logo. We did go ahead and finalize our logo, and AdWorks, a company here in town, we hired them to kind of brand us. And so, as you can see on the screen, there are a couple of different, everybody likes to actually see what it's going to look like. That's in our school colors, and that's our logo branding. That's my favorite. Okay, so I'll just keep that up there while I kind of give you a few of the other updates. Right now I'm meeting with Abel Crozier-Davis on a weekly basis, usually once or twice a week, just to kind of get updates, iron things out. We sometimes conference call with Pfluger, like we did this morning, we did yesterday evening. So we'll conference call with them and get updates from them and kind of iron, several different items out with, along the week. A couple of items that have maybe been repurposed, or spaces that have been repurposed. We are going to house a Lafayette Online Academy. So Lafayette Online Academy is going to be housed at Southside, and we are in the process of hopefully making an agreement with one of the hospitals here in town to have a telemedicine on our second floor of our school. So Lafayette Online Academy will be present, and hopefully we'll have the telemedicine present. We've selected the student furniture that's taken place, and we're in the process of finalizing office furniture, and met with Eric Crozier and local furniture company, and we're trying to iron all that out, make sure that we have the adequate filing storage and adequate space for all of the different offices that are going into the building. There's lots of storage there on the campus, so we want to make sure that we accommodate and we're not shortfalling anybody when it comes to filing, storage, and that kind of thing. The preparations to create the infrastructure and the policies for the one-to-one environment. Today we had the luxury of going out to one of the local schools here in the parish who very effectively implements a one-to-one device policy, and so we're kind of borrowing some information from them, and preparing the whole infrastructure of laying out that one-to-one device program from the get-go whenever school opens. Right now, I'm meeting with Ms. Suzanne Thibodeau kind of on a weekly basis. We're going to try to start ironing out when we're going to hire staff. And we're creating, this week, we're creating a list of the positions that we will hire and the order of necessity, how they will be hired. So we're kind of laying that out at this time. Personally, I've met with the 3 feeder schools, my 3 feeder public schools. I meet with them about every couple of weeks. I try to go out to the school sites, meet with them, show my face to the students that will be my future students, my future 9th graders, and answer questions that the guidance counselors or the principals have. A lot of the guidance counselors are receiving phone calls. We have created our website. We created that, I guess, about a month or a month and a half ago. So our website is now on the LPSS. It's linked onto the LPSS website. So there's a lot of information on there that can be helpful. Pretty soon we'll also put a frequently asked questions tab on there for many of the parents. I'm getting a lot of phone calls and emails from parents. So try to get out to the middle schools as much as possible. Once you guys vote on the boundary lines for the for Southside, I have spoken with the principals, including Acadiana Renaissance Charter. I've even gone there so we can swipe up those kids that that are zoned for us and not lose them to other schools. I'm going to go out to each one of those 4 schools, and we'll have a Q&A with the parents. All 4 of those principals are going to set that up for me, but I want to make sure the boundary lines are established before I go in there and speak with them. So that's kind of in the works. Also, we are attempting to be a LEED certified school, LEED Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. It's kind of like a green school, so also working on some of the components that give us points towards the LEED certification. So that's an ongoing process that we're working towards that LEED certification. And then outside of that, the only other thing is met with Chief Ricky Boudreau at Youngsville Police Department. So we're working on the traffic and how we're going to funnel traffic in and out, because those roads are narrow, and so working on how they're going to want to funnel traffic in and out of the school prior to the school year beginning. I'm sure that maybe you guys have questions. Do any of you have questions as to what is going on right now with the progress? Do you have any specific questions or general questions? None. If you do get any, I just recommend that you, some people don't know that I work here, so they'll call the Miss Judy does, but other than Miss Judy, like, people don't know that I work here. So, but you can have them email me, and then I'll call them back. But please, I get information from Mr. Hidalgo. He'll send me information that people are interested in employment and that kind of thing. So please forward them. I try to get back to them, pretty quickly. Yeah.
Dr. Chausson, you had a question?
Yeah, I was asking Mr. Hidalgo right at the beginning, we're going to start with the 9th grade and the 10th graders, right? So we won't have varsity sports yet.
You're not allowed to have varsity sports until you have the senior class, yeah.
Well, my concern was that the kids that aren't in a school of choice that are going to be now zoned in the South Side, if they're football players, those kids won't get to play varsity sports for 2 years, which kind of takes them off the map, which I know is a kind of downfall of us opening up a new school. But had we given any consideration to that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You want me to elaborate?
Yeah, please.
Okay. I'm working with Mr. Craig right now, and he stepped out, but we're working with Mr. Craig right now for those students that are at Como, that are currently attending Como, but let's just say that they're varsity quarterback right now, and they want the opportunities to remain there. We are creating a waiver process for those students to be allowed to remain at Como for, for good reason. So we're working on that waiver process, and that needs to be done pretty quickly after you guys vote on the boundary line, so that way I know how many kids are coming to me and how many are staying, and Como needs to know how many are staying there.
Any other questions? Thank you, ma'am. .4 is Southside High School change order for water-cooled chiller.
Good evening, members of the board. Kyle Bordelon, Director of Planning and Facilities. Bringing this information item to you guys tonight to let you know about a change order that we have requested of the contractor on the Southside High project, to go from an air-cooled chilled water system to a water-cooled chilled water system. During the design phases, we made a conscious decision to go to the air-cooled chiller system to try to save some dollars and get this project within the budget. Along the way, Mr. Guidry was able to secure some other financing, which allowed us to put more money in the budget for the project. We kept the air-cooled chiller system, air-cooled chilled water system in the project for a length of time, and the contractor questioned us. The contractor and the architects and engineers questioned us kind of at the almost the point of no return, and said, "Are you sure you want the air-cooled chilled water system? Because the water-cooled chilled water system is more efficient for you over the long run, will save you energy." So we asked the engineers to run a return on investment calculation, and it came back that it was going to pay for itself over a period of somewhere between 7 and 10 years. So at that time, had discussions with Dr. Aguillard, Mr. Guidry about this, and at that time we decided to make the change to the water-cooled chiller system. So we're bringing this to your attention just as a point of information. If there's any questions, Mr. Eric Crozier with the architect's office is here if I can't answer those questions.
Yes, I have a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
First one is, I understand that the money was found in order to upgrade to this system. My question is, what percentage of the total project is this increase for the chiller? I'm asking that because there's some kind of a magic number that you can't keep adding change orders, and keep jacking up the price. And that's why I'm asking the question.
Mr. Guidry, you have the percentage real quick? .2%.
And what's that magic number? Is it 10 or 5 or something?
If a contract change order exceeds 10%, and by our policies and procedures, we bring that to the board for approval.
So if it's under 10%, staff does it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My next question is, and it relates to air conditioning system. This atrium at the south side, how many square feet is the atrium total?
Yeah, Mr. Crozier, since you know the plans inside and out.
Eric Crozier, Abel Crozier Davis Architects. We've got, I guess we've got two main atriums in the building. So those would be the spaces underneath the library. The library is on the first floor, and that space travels up to the second and third floor. And then a little ways over to the east, there's another space there that goes one story, and then it shifts over and it goes up another story. So theoretically, according to the code, it's actually not an atrium, but it's a communicating level, but it is a multi-story volume space. Exact square footage, great question. I don't know that we've calculated in a while what that square footage is. It's probably, one of them, if I had to guess, it's probably 3,000 square feet per floor in just open air. So maybe 6,000 on one side, and it's probably 1,500 and 1,500, maybe 3,000 total on the other side. So it's, and that doesn't necessarily add as much to the air conditioning load as a habitable space would add. But it does take into they have to take that into consideration when it comes to return air and things like that.
But most of it is inhabitable. Am I correct?
The atrium is, you cannot stand on an atrium, right? There's no floor there. That's correct.
It has to be heated as well.
It's open to the rest of the building, so not necessarily. There's not dedicated heat for that. You know, it just circulates. The air circulates through there. There's actually very few diffusers that supply air to those spaces. It's pulled through and across. On the third floor, you'll notice when you go out to the school when it's finalized, the atrium on the third floor is all glassed in. To meet code, we did that to effectively meet code, but also from a safety standpoint, it's all laminated glass. That air volume there would be certainly hotter than the air that's on the other side of the glass, because we don't have a lot of, you know, there's no real reason to do that, to condition that air there. So,
thank you.
I hope I answered your question.
You did. Any other questions? I didn't mean to hog the floor. Thank you.
If I may, we have one introduction. Actually, I should say it's a reintroduction. We'd like to welcome back tonight Miss Shelley Chasson. She's going to be the new assistant principal at Truman Elementary Childhood Education Center. Ms. Chasson earned a Bachelor of Science degree from Grambling State University and a Master's of Education degree from UL Lafayette. In the past, she has served as an English and math teacher at Parks Elementary in Iberia Parish. She's taught at Brobridge Elementary and at Krista McAuliffe Middle School. She served as an enrichment teacher at Alice Boucher Elementary, Karen Crow Heights Elementary, and Myrtle Place Elementary School. And finally, she previously served as the assistant principal at Plantation Elementary School for 7 years. She left us for a while, and we're glad she came back. Congratulations to Ms. Shelley Chasson.
A very short while. I actually left the system in May, and I'm back. I want to thank you, Mr. Angel, Dr. Aguillard, members of the board, for giving me the opportunity to be the assistant principal at Truman Early Childhood Education Center. It's a mouthful. I'm learning. I'm getting it. This is my 18th year in the school system, and I'm shocked of how quickly time has passed. I had an aha moment yesterday realizing that in just a little over a decade, I'll be able to retire with 30 years of experience at a young age of 53, which my heart smiled because I realized I could enjoy the second half of my life at my own leisure. I'm excited to be part of Truman. I'm even more excited to work closely with Mrs. Francis. The vision there is each child, each day excellence, and excellence is what I bring each day to every child. Thank you.
Let me tell you from experience about time flying. The older you get, the faster it goes.
If I may again, at the board meeting last week, the the board voted for us to direct staff to develop a matrix or guidelines that did not use seniority as a priority in terms of displacing teachers, placing displaced teachers. So working with Ms. Thibodeau, Mr. Veed, the directors, Ms. Aloisio, Mr. Hebert, Ms. Samick, Dr. Aguillard, staff, we came up with a rubric that with this rubric, seniority now only becomes 1/5 of a teacher's score in terms of determining who would be displaced. So each of those categories, there's 5 categories. Each category, a teacher, pick teacher John Doe, and they're rated first on certification, TAT being the lowest certification. A fully certified teacher would get 4 points, a TAT would get 1. Then you look at their COMPASS score, which is performance of the teacher. A brand new teacher won't necessarily have a score when we do displace teachers. So we have no score or an ineffective all the way to highly effective. So that teacher would first be rated on their certificate, then they'd be rated on their classroom performance. Next, we would take into consideration their education level. Bachelor's would earn you 1 point, all the way up to a doctorate or an education specialist would get you 4. You get 2 points for no tenure, 4 points for fully tenure, and then 1/5 of your score is related to your seniority in the parish. So if you are a brand new teacher, you could potentially earn 5 points, and if you are top crop, cream of the crop, you could potentially earn 20 points. And what we'll do is, after the zones are set, after staffing has been analyzed in terms of who loses teachers, who gains teachers, we'll start looking at individuals and comparing them to this rubric. If you have a low score, you're more likely to be transferred, displaced. If you have a high score, you're less likely to be displaced.
Is that part of the agenda item 5.6, involuntary transfer?
Yes,
Mr.
yes,
Clay?
sir. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
And the other one was 5.5, personnel changes?
I did 2 at once.
Okay,
I was trying
that's
to
great. That's
expedite
great.
the meeting.
That's great. Is that it?
Yes, sir. And the only other thing I will mention, in all likelihood, there'll be displaced paraprofessionals. Their criteria is a little different. We'll look at their traditional evaluation, earning anywhere from a 1 to a 4. We'll take into consideration their educational level, earning a 1 to 4, and then finally seniority in the parish. So a paraprofessional could potentially earn a low score of a 3, a high score of a 12. Again, a low score means you're more likely to be transferred. A high score would mean less likely that you'll be displaced.
Any questions, comments? Thank you, Mr. Oh, Dr. Chasson.
I wanted to at least stress my feelings about the seniority portion of it. I know this is just an information item, but I think some of the ownership with us giving a principal the leadership to turn a school around or keep it at an A or move up a letter grade would be giving them the power to keep someone that they wanted to keep, as opposed to losing them to a rubric where a 20-year teacher, if they just got a teacher and they're in their second year and that teacher is just phenomenal, if they end up rated the same, someone that has been there 15 plus years would technically beat them out. So I at least wanted to at least stress to the board and to staff that I would like to give the principals the power to keep the teachers that they want, and in this rubric it doesn't meet that criteria.
Mr. Hidalgo, I'm sorry.
Whatever you want to call me. Dr. Chasson, maybe you can, if the president allows, speak to it a little more, because, I mean, right now, the principal does have that authority. and I don't know how else to say it, but I think in some cases it might be misplaced authority. And that's why some of these that's why we're talking about this. So they have full authority right now. I too don't want to see seniority be a major component, but I mean, is 1/5 potentially fair, knowing that right now the situation is they have the full authority, and all they have to do is go sit down with their evaluation documents and do their evaluation.
Does the principal have that technical authority that Mr. Hidalgo was speaking of right now? If they wanted to retain one teacher over another, there's still some criteria rubric that they're having to undergo, right?
So 50% of their teachers' evaluation is based on professional practice. So that 50% could be construed as extremely subjective.
Okay. So if you have a high educational level, or education level, and then you're tenured, then you're probably going to rank high in all of the categories, technically speaking, as well as seniority, right?
Yes, sir. You might. I mean, it stands to reason that if you're tenured, you have twice as many points as a non-tenured teacher. If you have 10 years of experience, you have 10 years more than the novice teacher.
Yeah. How would we empower? How do we empower a principal at that point? Which I know we're all trying to do the right thing. No one's trying to do wrong versus right. But how do we empower the principal to say, listen, I understand that there's this rubric, but I've got this third-year teacher that I just don't want to lose. How do we?
I get that, but Dr. Chaplin, I think you're failing to consider that it's the principal's responsibility to work and develop their faculty, all of their teachers, to improve their practice. To say that, you know, we're going to discard 15-year veteran teachers and hire just first or second or third-year teachers is really not fair to the profession. That the principal has an entire year, in fact multi-years, to work with a teacher to say, look, you are not cutting it. You need to improve your practice, or there will be consequences. It might be in the form of an evaluation during a year. So I don't think it's a simple thing to say that principal gets a wild card and gets to hold a teacher who has more security than someone who's tenured, who has a master's degree in professional practice, who's been working year in, year out as an effective teacher. We just have to acknowledge this whole system that we're working with. Young teachers sometimes get displaced more often than veteran teachers. I think we have all been through that, those of us that have been in this business.
Right.
Where you land, sometimes, you know, you work harder and then you get back where you want to be. It's just, I don't know that the answer is to give 2 cards to principals to say you can protect 2 teachers.
I understand what you're saying, Dr. A, but that wild card that we're speaking about, we're actually holding the wild card because we're rezoning next year. That's the wild card. So we're actually not giving them the opportunity if they just got a first-year teacher or a second-year teacher. I mean, I'm sure if principals had known we were rezoning 5 years ago, then some of them probably would have handled their documentation a little better and, you know, did a better job of teaching those teachers, hey, listen, I need you to step up here or step up there. So the fact that we are rezoning, it now changes the entire landscape. I mean, just last week, Mr. Konezik mentioned that nowhere in his profession, nor in mine, as well, Mr. Latchley, nowhere in our professions someone older gets preferential treatment. It's all about who can do the best job. So I just want to empower the principals, not a wild card, but as long as seniority is even an equal percentage criteria mark, it'll still allow older teachers to remain somewhere as opposed to giving the principal the ownership to make that decision.
All right. Any other comments? All right, moving along then, I'm going to read the introduction items that we will discuss at the next regularly scheduled meeting. 6.1, approval of revised job description, federal programs manager. 6.2, approval of the revised job description, homeless education program facilitator. 6.3, consider approving name for our non-traditional school. 6.4, request approval that the non-traditional school be located at W.D. and Mary Baker Smith Career Center facility. 6.5, adoption of policy GBRA, employee conduct. 6.6, adoption of policy GAMJ, miscellaneous conditions of employment. 6.7, revision of policy GBF, orientation. 6.8, revision of policy GBRH, professional leave. Item 6.9, approval of architect for Como High Performing Arts Academy building. And do we have any of these items that we wish to move to action? If not, I'll move on to time-sensitive action items. The first of which is temporary campus for Westside Elementary School. I recognize Ms. Morrison.
Yes, I would move that the board approve the establishment of a temporary campus for Westside Elementary School on a site to be determined in Scott, pending FEMA approval to allocate 90% funding for the project.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments on the motion from members of the public? From members of the board? If not, I'm sorry, Mr. Broussard.
I don't have a question. I've got a brief comment. On the last meeting, the lady mentioned some of the ills that the parents suffered bringing their child, their students to and from school. It weighed on me, because if you look at the present situation we've got now, some of the students that are attending Westside has those same ills as far as travel time. They're getting home at 5, 6 o'clock. So I'm saying that to say when we rezone next year, redraw the lines, is for those reasons, some of those reasons, to shorten the ride. Because our students now are getting home, some of them are getting home at 5, 6 o'clock. So now it's I'm not going to say the shoes on the foot, but you know how some of the students do feel.
Thank you, Mr. Broussard. And you're right, transportation is one of the major reasons for the rezoning. If those are the only comments, Madam Secretary, we'll call for the vote.
Seven for, none against.
Motion carries. And the last item on our agenda is approval of quotes for L.J. Alamo Middle Computer Lab renovation. Mr. Hidalgo moves for approval, and Ms. Morris seconds the motion. Any questions or comments on the motion from members of the public, from members of the board? If not, Madam Secretary, we'll call for the vote. We'll go check on UL. I know. chance, Ms. Madam President. I can't wait.
7-4, none against.
Motion carried. That was the last item on our agenda. I'm going to declare this meeting adjourned.